Welcome in, everyone. This is Joan Kaler, and you have joined us on Life Without Limits, where there are no limits to what you can achieve. In a few moments, I will be inviting in my most special guest today. But before I do, I just want to explain a few things. What Life Without Limits is about. It's about how you can attract the love, financial abundance, and health that you so deserve in your life. Think about this. When the electrical system in your body shorts out, just like when the power in your neighborhood blacks out, or God forbid, your computer crashes, nothing works. Okay, we're talking electrical systems. With emotional freedom techniques and other highly effective processes, you can turn the power back on in yourself. Many people have been living with blackouts and brownouts in their lives for so long, they think it's normal. It's not. The purpose of this show is to show you what is possible. All you need is open mind and curiosity. And with that, I'm going to welcome in my very special guest today, Jondi Whitis.
It's true.
It's true. Hi, Jondi. Welcome in.
Hey, how are you, Joan? I'm pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. This is remarkable. Jondi is, oh my goodness, a master trainer with the Association for the Advancement of Meridian Energy Therapies, AMET. She is everything in the tapping world. It's just so exciting to meet with you today. So
my goodness, that was very kind of you.
For those of you who are not yet familiar with emotional freedom techniques, aka tapping, Jondi, let's fill everybody in on what EFT is.
Let's do that. Let's start with what I think is important about it, all right? I think EFT is a lens for which we can see the world differently. A lens for seeing the world differently. And so this show having to do with limitations and freedom and getting rid of those limitations, I think EFT is a perfect tool for that. Specifically, it is a tool that has been westernized, that has its feet in its history in Asian and Eastern medicine that's been documented over thousands of years. So we're finally catching up over here. And so we have an underpinning of well-documented over thousands of years Asian principles of medicine that actually gave us the idea about the body is an energy system, and they just happen to call that chi. That's their word for the fuel and energy that runs through every one of us and helps us do whatever we're going to do. And so using that concept and then bringing over to the Western world, we've paired it with some very useful psychology techniques. To be honest, they're all borrowed and recombined, and that's the beauty of EFT. It is the most elegantly reverse engineered modality I've ever seen, and that's why I use it all the time. It combines cognitive restructuring, neural restructuring, repatterning, neural, I want to say it's like reconstructing a memory for the neurology buffs in the crowd. It's also about brief exposure versus prolonged exposure, which we know now really doesn't help a lot, right? It causes more suffering. All right. We also find that there's a lot of NLP in there. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, that's been with us, I guess, since the 80s, perhaps. That has to do with how we think, how humans think. And so we harness this wonderful knowledge to put in this lovely basket that Gary Craig reverse engineered from Roger Callahan, who was one of three guys that we know of in the 90s that went, hey, this is really interesting. Whatever it is I'm doing, when I simultaneously do it with acupressure point stimulation, things get better and fast. So taken from that point of view, EFT is a mixture of many successful things that integrates beautifully into any other modality you're rocking.
Whoa. So eloquent. Thank you so much. Yes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I love to teach tapping. One, because it works. 99% of the time.
It's useful.
It's useful.
That's why we love it. It's very useful.
Why
and it's
suffer
practical.
if you don't have to?
That was actually something that Gary was very explicit about. He said, people have suffered enough before they got to you. Why are you going to make them suffer any more than that? Right.
And I always have to stick this caveat in that medication is helpful. And I'm not suggesting anybody not take their medication. No. However, this in conjunction with medication, cognitive behavior therapy, and EFT. EFT is a fantastic modality in helping, yes, as Jondi mentioned, restructure the thinking, restructure the brain, restructure the thinking of the mind, letting that chi flow more easily, more gently, because truly, when we're worried, when we're anxious, when we're depressed, when we have a problem, our chi is stuck. It's not going anywhere. So to get it unstuck as we stimulate these acupressure points, it gets us unstuck so we can breathe again, we can think more clearly, we can think in the front of our brain, in our frontal lobe, instead of being stuck in the amygdala, in the middle of our brain. And then all of a sudden, when we clear that stuck energetic pattern, that stuck residence, then we can think more clearly, and then it's like, oh, yes, it could be this instead of that.
Absolutely. We are talking about flow. You know, that's a very Eastern concept, balance and flow, the yin and the yang, balance and flow. And you're absolutely correct. The late, great Candace Pert had tried this out at NIH and had given us those lovely electron microscope, real-time pictures, little windows into the body, and the very cells moving through our bloodstream and what happened when they were stuck or clogged up, where they were sticky. And after applying EFT, she then showed that they unstick and flow freely through the blood system. That is just mind-blowing, and that happened a long time ago. But like I said, the late, great Candace Pert is no longer with us, but she left behind a legacy for many other people, especially those in the harder sciences that don't naturally think of the body in the same ways that we're talking about it right now.
Yeah, I had the honor of meeting her when she was at an ASEP conference several years ago. And that was an amazing, dynamic human.
Just a lucky person.
Jondi, I had a really interesting question I wanted to ask your thoughts on.
Sure.
As I was getting ready for my day this morning, I thought, why do people fail?
Isn't that a great question? And don't we have an awful lot of commerce hanging on that?
Really, isn't that the truth?
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about it. In terms of failure, first of all, success or failure is in the eye of the beholder first. Right? At least that's my point of view. And in failure, I also see its feet are embedded in this idea of the ancient Greek words around missing the mark. Missing the mark is a lot different than failure. So I think a lot of this work is around our mindset. Do you have a limiting mindset about failure or success and what those things mean to you? EFT is one of the best tools I've ever seen for clarifying your thoughts, for getting at the meaning you've made around things, because surely you have. And if you did not make it yourself, you were helped into it by someone who trained you at an early age, someone in a position of authority, perhaps, Or perhaps it was just something that happened to you and they were there, and this is the meaning you derived from the lesson. So we carry that lesson with us. So now our success or failure may not even be our own ideas about it, our own beliefs about it. So EFT helps us clarify, what are we believing? Why do we believe that? What evidence do we have that we have failed?
Mm-hmm.
Or failed to succeed, however they're looking at it. Secondly, I think we're probably going to go straight to the idea of what is our role in the failure. In other words, what did we do or not do in the process that led to the outcome we have labeled failure? Okay? So I think we have a popular term for that called self-sabotage, right? It's larger than self-sabotage, though, because, again, with the name of your show, it is about the limiting beliefs that we have inherited or created. Yes. As far as I can tell, people learn things three ways. One, somebody tells you, usually somebody you trust or is in authority. They tell you, and usually repeatedly. And that gets a repeated thought becomes a belief. Okay? Mm-hmm. And we act on beliefs. That's what we do. The second one would be some kind of event that taught us that, ouch, stove hot, is not just for our reptile brain. It's also about learning the meaning of this and that and the other and what not to do anymore, why that might be dangerous, etc. There's something that we learn from it. Don't slam the door or else, right? The third kind, which is the most popular, I think, that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, is that of the conclusion. Children are meaning-making machines. It's part of their survival mechanism design, and so they must come up with some kind of meaning for that. In the absence of someone explaining it to you, or not trusting the person explaining it to you, you will find a meaning. And if no one challenges you on it, or if it seems to hold true, you will then embed and ingrain that forever until you take a look at it and decide that maybe that's not quite right, and you will alter, tweak, or morph into a better explanation. Okay, so we learned three ways. Which way did you get that belief?
Which way did you get that belief?
What evidence do you have that that's true?
I love that question, what evidence? Well, or I'll say, ask my clients, I'll say, so has that happened to you in the past? Well, no. Well, then what evidence do you have that it's going to happen in the future? Mm-hmm. And then we'll take a trip into the future and do some tapping on the worries.
Sure.
Which is always helpful.
I was going to say, what if is one of our favorite games, is it not?
What if Armageddon comes? What if this disaster? Or the most famous fear of all, what if I die? Well,
we are programmed for survival.
Survival.
Yeah. And it's not always helpful that we have these cultural adages, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? It's not always helpful that that's on the tip of everybody's tongue. But we've been taught it, and I think to acknowledge it is a really good place to start. Mm-hmm. Right? Perhaps there's something around that question, too, of, well, what if you die? Mm-hmm. Right? Outside of the obvious, how else is that really important or frightening or of deep concern to you?
Go with that.
Yeah.
And then there's the part of me that always wants to say, well, let's check your root chakra here. But this is about tapping today, so we won't talk about chakras. Although, the fear...
They go together really well, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. The electrical system, the human electrical system is on the inside of us, in our meridians, and on the outside of us. We are just walking batteries.
I think that's true, and I think that every part of us is... Maybe this is not precisely true, but the idea of it is true, that every part of us is a hologram for the rest of us.
Yes. Right? The human eye can only see. Once I had a client who was a science teacher, and she said that the human eye can only see 1/1 millionth of light rays. So there are humans that can't see the human electrical system. My teachers, Stephanie Aldringhoff, Donna Eden, they can see the human energy system.
Yes.
I'm blessed that I can see ours. I can see the energy pattern around someone. I'm not quite into the colors yet, but I can, of course, you can't see it now, but I have turquoise walls in my office, so how am I going to see color if I have turquoise walls? But I can see the energy cloud around someone. So
that's wonderful. I don't have that capability, by the way.
And I'm very kinesthetic in that I can feel energy. So that's
I would say that's where we meet more, I would think, because I do have through the skin, through the heart, and through somehow my eyes, I have some kind of amalgamating assessment, I guess, of where are they, and that's one of Gary Craig's famous things that he used to say that I take to heart. I mean, really to heart, is meet them where they are.
Meet them, yes. That's what I'm learning so much with EFT. One of the reasons I love tapping so much is because it allows people to be self-empowered.
Yes.
So here's your tapping map. Here's an easy phrase. Let me text it to you. And then we'll practice in here. Then you take this with you and you practice at home. You practice. Ladies and gentlemen, always my caveat, do not do this while you're driving. The most that you can do while you're driving is massage your collarbone points and maybe tap under your collarbone. That's okay. Anything else, please pull over to a parking lot in a safe place if you feel the need to tap. Absolutely. But do not tap while you're driving. Okay. There's my disclaimer. Other than that, tap away. One of the questions that I love that I get a lot is, well, Joan, because one of my specialties is obsessive compulsive disorder. And you go, well, won't this turn into another compulsion? And I say, please. If this turns into another compulsion, I'm thrilled.
It'll be the best one you have.
Exactly.
Right.
This is a healthy compulsion.
I wanted to underpin what you said because I don't think we can emphasize that enough. EP, specifically EFT, was designed as a self-care and peer-to-peer tool. And that is what makes it rather unique, right? He took it out of simple licensed therapy use is the only use for it. To get out of there and said, look, if I reverse engineer it into a non-diagnostic tool, everybody can have this. Everybody can use this for self-care and for peer-to-peer use. Everybody. And that's why I call it the people's tool.
Yes. Yes. Because it's for the world. Once you're taught it by, may I say, ladies and gentlemen, a very trained, qualified, educated trainer, Jondi and myself, then you have this tool for life.
You do. I think this is important to say to them. We absolutely want to empower you as quickly as possible to have a tool in your pocket forever that's a life processing tool. But we also acknowledge there are times when I'm not able to take on my own self-care. I'm not yet able to return to my resourceful state. And in those times, this is why we have highly trained people who are used to just about everything under the sun. They've seen it all, and they've practiced, and they've met the highest qualifications for giving this tool within an environment that is safe and responsible and can really help you get over the humps in your life that you're currently experiencing as we teach you the rules and the ropes of how to take care of yourself going forward. So I really do love that you have brought that out, that there is a progressive path that is available to people who are suffering right now, who are instantly triggered by that. They say, well, I can't take care of myself right now. I don't want to be by myself doing this. I need somebody to this. So it's the antithesis of do this to me, or allowing someone to do this to you. But at the same time, it has a gentle progression that just makes sense.
And God forbid anybody has or is experienced what we in EFT land called a little t or a big T trauma, any trauma. That's when we are here to help you through it.
We absolutely are, and we acknowledge how much there is in the world.
Yes.
Right? But once we help them in this way that we're prescribing, to use that word, once we help them through that and they have this daily tool, little T traumas from every day become less and less likely for them because they have a life processing tool in their pocket and they know what to do with the everyday bumps and the things that go bump in the night as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's such a gift. Thank you to Roger Callahan, who created thought field therapy. Thank you to Gary Craig. I think of EFT as organic.
Yeah, I love that.
It ebbs and it flows. It changes. It's definitely in 2018 when we're speaking. Definitely not the same EFT as Gary created in 1993.
I think that's true. I think we're evolutionary beings on an evolutionary journey, and all of our tools evolve. And we will too if we allow it.
Yes.
Right? And so I would say that my word that joins your word is EFT is remarkable in its organic nature. It's remarkable in its flexible nature, and it's remarkable in its dynamism.
Whoa.
Like that? I like that.
Say that again.
That's what it's remarkable in its organic nature. It's remarkable in its flexibility, and it's remarkable in its dynamism.
Dynamism.
Yeah. Let's think about that for a second, in case somebody over there who's listening is going, "What is she off about?"
What? That's such
what?
A word. What does she mean by that?
Dynamism is energy and movement and creation. It is also in my book, I'm underlining that, in my book, it evolves from a place that has you as a participatory agent. It does require participatoriness. It is engaging with life. It's dynamic in that it's not just the mechanical algorithm. For instance, I don't even know if this is a good analogy. I haven't used it before, but when Gary came up with what he called a basic recipe, it is much like a cookbook. When you open the cookbook, I'd like to make a cake, and it says, okay, you're going to need these ingredients and in this order, right? And the dynamic part of that is the combination before you attach heat to it. Okay. Fine. But it doesn't really sing off the page to you. That's what we have all those beautiful pictures of delicious mouth-watering cake and how it's supposed to look, and it's surrounded by flowers or happy people or what. That is all those things coming together to say, what could this mean to you, right?
Okay.
So this is how the recipe leaps off the page in your hands and becomes dynamic as you participate with the other person in evolving change together.
Ladies and gentlemen, is she not a fantastic teacher or what?
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I love what I do, and I believe in what I do, and I don't teach anything I don't do myself.
Yep, I hear you on that one. I want to share your website, so hold that thought, everyone, because we are going to Jondi's website.
Sure, I can tell you what it is. I have one called EFT for results because I think that's what most people are seeking about EFT. It's not EFT per se. They would like help. They would like results. So EFT for results right there. That's my website. I'm working on making a new one, but it's always going to still point to EFT for results, because that's what people are seeking. Can you help me with this? Will this thing you do help me with that thing I'm worried about? Right?
Look at this. Isn't this
So
cool?
thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh,
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
So I try hard to meet people where they are. They're not there to spend their day or their money with somebody because they heard about me, unless they heard this lady might be able to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very focused on what can I help you with, or how can I support you in getting the help you need, or how can I support you by helping you with new tools and ways that you might work on that thing that causes you distress. That's what we're here for. And that's what I teach. And I really appreciate the fact that people like you that have licensure and have every kind of Western medical training, shall we say. I actually meant counseling training, but it's the same, isn't it? We have a very rich canon from which we are coming of tools and skills, and we paid money for it, and we earned our stripes, and we were supervised, and we interned, and we did all this stuff. And this is just one more tool. Mm-hmm. And the reason I want to show it to them, though, particularly to people like yourself, is because this is the tool in their toolbox that's upside down. This is the deconstructor as opposed to the constructor that they have learned heretofore.
And that's how when people say, Joan, why don't you want to get your PhD? I go, I am getting my PhD. I'm getting my PhD in tapping.
Yes. Yes, if there were one, I hope I'd have one, and I would certainly have sought one. But yeah, but think about that, though. Here's the differential that I see in a lot of people that are coming for training or they're coming for individual services. They have learned to make meaning. Again, we said this before. They've learned to make meaning, and so have many of their therapists. They've learned to make meaning, and much of the therapy that I studied when I was starting out, the idea was I'm going to help take all that's coming out and help them synthesize that into something that makes a little more sense to them, a little easier to get their hands around, and perhaps take a look at this together now that we know what we're dealing with. EFT is their other tool in their toolbox. It helps us deconstruct all the meaning we've made around that to see, is that really true? Is that still true? Is that helpful? We deconstruct the meaning they've made.
Wow. Johnny, what would you like our audience to know today?
I would like them to know a lot of things. One of them that just pops up, I love that you just ask us to spontaneously talk. One of them is that EFT and energy psychology, frankly, is about the least woo-woo thing I've ever encountered in my life. There are a lot of people running around that think, oh, that woo-woo stuff. There's nothing woo about it. It's just so logical, rational. It's so systemic.
Yes.
Systematic. I'm thinking, where are they getting that woo-ness? I don't see that. I just see a powerful, systematic deconstruction tool. Who is not on board with this? But, we all stand on the shoulders of whoever came before us, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. And so I see that. I'm standing on the shoulders of people I don't know who have mysticized it or something. I don't know. But part of the demonization of this field of inquiry has been simple misunderstanding. In other words, what human beings do. If I fear it, chances are good I've misunderstood it and I've just run. And I took whatever meaning I could make at the time, and I haven't revisited since because I didn't need to.
Yes.
Very simple, right? But EFT is rational, purposeful, practical, useful, systematic, and yet at the same time, I want them to see that its power is like an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is what you see. And below the waterline, and let us be specific, below the waterline are the people who know how to use that tool set with great skill and depth. And that's the vast possibilities under the waterline of EP and EFT.
Oh, my God. Oh, Jondi, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, he will be back. I so decree.
Thank you. I would love to come back.
We are here to serve. Don't suffer. Call us.
Yes.
Jondi, for that, I'm going to thank you so much for being on the show today.
It's my pleasure and privilege.
For everything. And I'm going to say goodbye to our listeners, goodbye to our viewers, until next time, when we will have another fascinating discussion about something, so that you know that there are no limits to what you can achieve. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you for listening and watching.